It's 1942. The war's on. Riccobotta, his hobby is sending these Navy operatives into Germany. They've been going all over Germany, and they're staggered at what they found. They found hundreds of different types of advanced weapons being built. These included 60-foot and 250-foot, 500-foot UFOs, round vehicles, okay, UFOs. They built some of these out of chromoly steel that would weigh tons and tons and tons. They had developed, or they had been given, electromagnetic anti-gravitational propulsion. They have all these UFOs, different types of propulsion that were unbelievable, laser weapon systems, unbelievable stuff. All over the country, Germany and the occupied areas, they had massive underground production facilities that they were using, they had developed for regular arms waste, like tanks and places to build Navy ships and all this kind of stuff. Most of it was underground. So they started expanding those facilities, and they put 11 of these UFO-shaped vehicles in production. So the operatives are trying to explain to us, and the admiral would back off and say, "Slow down, I don't believe you." And that went on, and then the captains would say the same thing. The operatives were nice guys, and they knew they were going to get the questions when they got back into the admiral's office, and they knew that nobody was going to believe what they said. So fortunately, the admiral had a typist in there, and the admiral's aide was not in there. He wasn't even cleared to be in there. And one or two of the captains, the admiral and myself, and we were the ones, the only people that this information was given to by the operatives. I want to step sort of back to my job in the Navy there, working for Admiral Riccobotta. We talked about my mission, not my job, my mission. It's documented, okay? It's written by the Secretary of Navy Forrestal, okay, who became the #1 guy in the military. Then he, like several other people, including our president at that time, were talking to a lot of other people. And so he was supposed to have had a mental breakdown, so they took him to the hospital there in Washington, the top floor, and pushed him out the window. And so that's the guy that wrote Admiral Riccobotta's mission, which has been my mission, came from his. That was the level of this information in the United States. Now, no other country but Germany knew about the extraterrestrials. Nobody did. Now, as this started to unveil the reality of what Germany was doing, it was like the war is going to be over, period. They're going to take the whole planet, and they could do it in 5 minutes. They even had trained a group of soldiers, an entire battalion of them, who were cloned. They had cloned a whole battle group of soldiers. They sent them out front, and they were killing the Russians unbelievably. So it's not just the material, but and advanced medical systems, longer lives. The size and the magnitude of what was taking place was unbelievable to everybody that got involved in the program. The SS found out that people could live longer. So there was another big, massive program given in pieces, brought back by the Navy operatives, plopped it on the table in front of Admiral Riccobotta, and of course that ended up with about 24 packages because of the different magnitudes of living longer. And I guess if you ask the question for the Nordics, their comparable lifespans are 1,400 to 2,200 years. But they look exactly like us. There is a study that we did later on at TRW on advanced life systems, as extended life. And that program is down now to within less than 2 years. It's going to be available to some people on this planet. The way it works, I'm very involved with it. Essentially, you take 4 aspirin over 6 months, pop them, or you get 4 shots. You immediately change. Everything is nicer. Everything is nicer, okay? What you do is you revert back to the girl's 21 and the guy's 29. Now, it takes a while for you to do this. You then stay at that time for essentially a couple of thousand years. Your brain then, which collectively we're only using 2.2% of our brain. I don't care what they're telling us. We're only using 2.2%. You get a minimum of 400% capability over what you normally had. And now, what this does is, this allows you to contribute. Allows you to contribute. You go to work for the company here, 20 years, they give you the watch, and you got a couple of 3 years later on, and you're out of the picture. Okay, so you didn't contribute very long. All right, now you're living 2,000 years, and you can contribute, and you also can have fun for 2,000 years. And you don't change age. You stay there. 5 of the top medical research groups, just like Scripps right here in San Diego, are involved in this. And there's hundreds of companies involved in this. There's a whole lot out there that is being removed from our part of our life, and that we are in this position where everything that we've been taught, whether it's in the university or in medical or in any technical field, even mathematics, is baloney. Our entire history, all the way back thousands of years, has been being controlled. We now know this. This is not something that we think could happen. We now know this. So if you look at countries, you look at the Roman times, and you see, if you take and parallel these events back with that, the Romans were being mind controlled. They had the elite group, and then they had all of the army, and then they had the slaves. And that's where we are now. We're just finding out about this, and we need to fix it. So we had a young girl, Nordic, just outside of Germany. Some people talked to her, and they said, you are now involved in a new program, and you're going to have great support in this program. She had developed, I think she had 8 girls. They were continually talked to telepathically to go and design spaceships. The little blonde actually built them, and eventually 2 of those got over here in Area 51. But Germany found out about the blonde, took her over, stopped everything, and then got to this point where there was some sort of pressurized program by the SS to control that original group. Now, several times they did work together, but Hitler allowed them to operate independently of the whole SS program, the whole development. So we had 2 developments going on in Germany. The girls didn't want their vehicles to be used for anything else but travel. They were afraid that somebody would get a hold of it and they use it for military. which is, of course, what they got. But the girls finally ended up in Antarctica in the large facilities. In fact, the reptilians had 3 massive caverns. They let Germany use 2 small ones. But when you're talking about small, it's like as big as California. And so there's cities in both the extraterrestrial caverns and manufacturing everything that you would need on a planet. So then Hitler's group did the same thing. 4 years before the war was over, it was decided that the war could possibly be lost, but if we win it, we still need to get out of the area because the Allies are going to bomb us off of the Earth and there won't be anything here left for us. So they decided to move everything to Antarctica. Admiral Byrd, they're going to down there and they were going to take out the whole thing in 1 week. The top people in every area of the Navy, best aircraft, best ships, best weapons, everything. And 5 weeks later, things didn't look very good. When we got down there, they had decided they were going to have one thrust from the west side of Antarctica and then the opposite side coming into both of them towards the center of the continent. And so before we even got all the guys around, and I'm talking about big 4-engine flying boats, okay, and ships, battleships and destroyers and submarines and you name it. Before they got there, these fairly large, they were 100-foot diameter saucers, came up out of the ocean and took down everything. Now there's a misnomer on some documentations about the pictures, the photographs of some of the German UFOs. Many of the close-ups give you a real clear picture of the cross on them. What was partially incorrect in that information that's been released was that not all of the vehicles came out from the German side to take out ours, but from the large caverns on the adjacent to them, unmarked UFOs and unmarked cigars came up, which then it was a joint venture by the extraterrestrials that lived there, operated from there, and built the vehicles that went to the moon and Mars and all these other places. But we lost that war.